What's going on there, YouTube, and welcome back to another comic book video. Okay, guys, so we are basically going to continue our coverage over the Reign of X era of X-Men comics, and we actually pick up with Marauders number 18 and number 19. Now, when it comes to Marauders number 18 and 19, this is basically Marvel kind of pushing the idea that there are some things Emma Frost knows that Charles Xavier and Magneto do not want her to know. And of course, you'll see what I mean as we go through this book. But at the same time, this is the Marauders challenging all their different enemies, because right now we're going to see the Marauders basically build up Manipur. Now remember, Manipur was a small country in the Marvel universe where basically crime rules. Crime rules the entire country. Now you do have a government, or you had multiple kinds of different governments. But with crime kind of ruling that country, the government basically did nothing to help the people who were just trying to live a normal life in that country. And so now we're going to see the Marauders actually challenge their enemies by kind of helping Manipur get better. And what I mean by the idea of the Marauders kind of helping out Manipur is really more of Emma Frost, because you have Emma Frost trying to build a connection between COPPA and also Manipur. Now, with that being said, it is also Emma Frost trying to show to Charles Xavier and Magneto she knows their big secret. Now that right there will be revealed down the road in the Reign of X. But basically you have Emma Frost give Manipur a free hospital to help out the people who are sick. And of course, there is no charge. Now, the reason why Emma Frost did this is because, again, she's trying to build that connection between COPPA and also Manipur. But at the same time, it's Emma Frost telling Charles Xavier and Magneto, I know your secret. Because that is the moment she reveals the name of the hospital. And the name is Moira McTaggart. It's named after Moira McTaggart. And that is huge. Because remember, back in House of X and Power of X, we learned that Moira McTaggart this entire time was a mutant, where she has the ability to kind of relive her life over and over again. Now, we also learned she could only live her life over and over again 10 times. And that was it. And so she has been trying to kind of save the mutant race. And so in this current time, we really haven't seen much of Moira McTaggart, but we know that Charles Xavier and Magneto are hiding her somewhere. And on top of that, the rest of COPPA has no idea that Moira McTaggart is hiding somewhere on the island. And so it's Emma Frost telling Charles Xavier and Magneto, I know your secret. You're hiding Moira McTaggart somewhere on the island. And she's the reason why you brought all the mutants together, because her mutant ability told you that in every single life she lived, mutants die. And so this is your attempt to hopefully save the mutant race. Now, this free hospital wasn't just made to basically help out the people of Manipur. It was also made as a way to help out mutants who have been affected by their mutant abilities their entire life. And what I mean by that is, right now you have Callisto bringing in Mask. Now, when it comes to Mask, he has been around for a very long time in Marvel Comics. But on top of that, he was part of the Morlocks. Now remember, the Morlocks used to be a group of mutants who used to live in the sewers of New York. And the reason why, because when their mutant abilities manifested, it changed their appearance and made them look very strange. And of course, very scary to the public. And so most of them went down into the sewers as a way to kind of hide from the world. And Mask was one of them. Now, his mutant ability is basically he's able to change someone's face. And that right there is very important, because it's basically giving this hospital a free plastic surgeon to help fix people, to help them make themselves feel better, but to also give him a purpose in life to help out people. And that right there was very huge to me because it's Mask kind of like, I have a purpose now. I can use my powers for good. And he loves it. Now we do see the Marauders kind of doing other things as well to kind of help Manipur out. Now, when I say help Manipur, it does begin to seem like it is the Marauders and the Hellfire Club and the X-Men kind of trying to take over this island, to try to make this island part of Krakoa's nation. And what I mean by that is we pick up with Bishop and Pyro. Now remember, Bishop and Pyro are part of the Marauders team that works for Kitty Pryde. But right now we see them going to a nearby bar. And when they walk into the bar, of course you would think that they're here to get a drink. But in reality, they are here to buy the bar. They even tell the bartender, the owner of the bar, like, hey, listen, here's a bag full of money. Take it and leave. This bar is now ours. This bag of money is yours. And the owner, bam, gone. He leaves. This is the Marauders trying to push pressure to a very specific group. Now, this is where we get reminded about the main bad guy for the Marauders, which is known as the Homones Varendi. And I feel like I just butchered that name so badly. I feel like I was getting better with it, but because we have not actually talked about them in a long time, I forgot how to pronounce their name. But either way, though, you have Varendi right now, this group of really teenagers, this group right now trying to get payback against the Marauders. Because this group, the Varendi, they were the latest government, quotation marks, to step into Manipur, and they begin the process of trying to remake Manipur in their own image. But now with the mutants being here and buying out places left and right, this hurts their master plan to kind of take over this island. And so what you have Varendi do is basically release their new project to go after the Marauders or any mutants that are basically helping out right now with the takeover of the island. And that is the moment we come to find out they have made a new model set of the Reavers. Now, Reavers were kind of used back in the early days of Marvel Comics to hunt down mutants. And here we are right now. It's the Varendi using these Reavers as a way to hunt down mutants, to get rid of the mutants on Manipur so that Varendi can continue their master plan. Now, when it comes to Varendi and them making the Reavers, this is basically part of their master plan. Now remember, Reavers are half man, half machine people who are sent out to kill mutants. And right now, they go after Bishop and they go after Pyro as well, because right now, those two characters are the bar right now that they had just bought recently. Now, with that being said, though, you do have our heroes fight against these Reavers. Now, at first, Pyro and Bishop are having a hard time, but that is the moment you actually have Iceman step in. Now remember, Iceman is an Omega level mutant, meaning that he's very powerful, and right now we have no idea about the limit of his powers just yet. But either way, you do have Iceman recognize some of the Reavers, and that is the moment Iceman realized these are some of the soldiers that he had hurt very badly in the earlier parts of Marauders. Because remember, there was a point Kitty Pryde died. And when she died, you had Iceman go after soldiers who could be connected to the death of Kitty Pryde. Now, Kitty Pryde came back to life, but when she died, there was the fear that they could no longer bring her back to life. Now, that right there leads into a whole other conversation. But right now, the reason why Iceman remembers some of these guys who are Reavers, because they used to be soldiers for Varendi, who basically helped get rid of Kitty Pryde. Now, with that being said, Iceman did some very bad things to them, like freezing their arms and their legs and breaking them arms and breaking no legs. Now, of course, Iceman did not kill them, but basically he left them very wounded. And so those guys were picked up and came back as Reavers. And now they're attacking the X-Men. Not X-Men, the Marauders. Now, here's the reason why the Varendi had made the Reavers and sent them to that bar. Because with them fighting against one another, of course, there is a news channel nearby. And that news channel is basically saying that right now, there is a huge brawl breaking out in the low part area of Marauders. And this brawl is, of course, is mutants and I guess cyborg machines, but of course they look like humans. But this is a way to paint a picture and say, look, you guys allowed mutants to be here and look what they done. They have caused a lot of problems on our island. Now, with that brawl kind of being broadcast all over the world, of course, it has been taken over to the United Nations. And this is huge because for Manipur, their ambassador or the person who's at the meeting for the United Nations to represent Manipur is Donald Pierce. Now, this is huge because Donald Pierce was originally part of the original Hellfire Club. But over time, of course, things have changed. He stepped away from the Hellfire Club because he found out that some members of the Hellfire Club were mutants. And of course, Donald Pierce hates mutants. But right now we see Donald Pierce has joined up with Varendi, and he's right now kind of like the person to represent Manipur at the United Nations. And he's kind of saying like, listen, look at the mutants. They came to our island and they started fights on our island. They are hurting our people. They are hurting our country. They are doing a lot of bad things right now. It's really more of Donald Pierce trying to turn the entire country of Manipur against COPPA. Now, with that being said, the last page of this chapter actually picks up with riots happening all over Manipur right now. Mutants fighting against the police force. Humans fighting against the police force. They really feel like that right now Varendi is trying to control this country completely. Now, with that being said, though, you do have more Reavers step in. And now the Reavers are going to try to push the mutants into the sea. Basically saying that Manipur is going to be protected by the Reavers. Now, with Marauders number 19, we are actually seeing Varendi kind of put more pressure on the Marauders, the X-Men, and even the mutant race. And what I mean by that is right now, you have the Marauders and the X-Men and even COPPA no longer being allowed to actually go to Manipur anymore. And that is what Varendi wanted, to keep them out. Because when Donald Pierce went to the United Nations, he painted a picture that basically if they allow the people of COPPA to come to Manipur, the only thing they're going to do is cause a lot of problems for both countries. And so to keep the peace between both countries, Manipur kind of asked the United Nations to keep COPPA away from Manipur. And so now the people of Manipur that has been affected so many times by their government can no longer actually get help from COPPA, because now COPPA is no longer allowed into Manipur. The people of COPPA is no longer allowed into Manipur. Now, of course, when it comes to Marauders, they're not just going to give up that easily, especially when you have Iceman, Pyro, and also Kitty Pryde. Now, the first two names, right off the bat, you should know that they were not going to give up. But when it comes to Kitty Pryde, in this new era of X-Men comics, she's different. She changed for the betterment. And so right now it's her kind of like, no, we just can't stay on the sideline and watch that country burn. Because what Varendi wants to do is get rid of all the poor areas and build their perfect, beautiful skylines. No matter how many people they are going to hurt, they're trying to get that beautiful skyline. And so right now you have Kitty Pryde, Pyro, and Iceman say, we are going to work together as a team. And with us working together, maybe, just maybe, we'll be able to actually save Manipur, but without kind of hurting our status with the United Nations either. Now, this actually leads into a very cool plan for Kitty Pryde. And the reason why I say that, because you have Kitty Pryde right now swimming underneath the water. And this works out very well because right now, nobody can see her. And so with her being able to swim underneath the water and actually make it to the sewers of Manipur without anybody seeing her, that means that Varendi cannot say that they were invaded by the mutant race because they didn't see Kitty Pryde swim towards the island. And so what Kitty Pryde does next is she plants a flower. And of course, that flower turns into a portal, because you have to remember, when it comes to the X-Men, they have the ability to travel almost anywhere in the universe. But of course, they have to plant a flower first, and that flower grows into a portal. And so right now, they planted a portal in the sewers. And there is a very good reason why. And that reason is the Morlocks. Because if you're able to take the Morlocks and have them use that gateway to basically lead them into the sewers and then get rid of that portal after the Morlocks arrive, you could say that the Morlocks were actually citizens of Manipur and not citizens of COPPA. And that is very huge, because then you cannot look at COPPA and say, you guys broke international laws. You invaded our country. But in reality, you can say, no, we did not. Those mutants were your people. They were born on Manipur. And of course, with that being said, that means the Morlocks can now go to Manipur, protect the low poor areas of Manipur against the Reavers. Now, we do get a couple pages where basically we do see the Morlocks being able to get onto the island and begin the process of actually attacking the Reavers. But this brings in one of the laws that COPPA people have made thanks to the Quiet Council, which is that you or a mutant are not allowed to kill a human. But the question is, though, are Reavers actually human? Because you could technically say that they're not humans. You could technically say that they are just machines, meaning that you can kill them. And so you have the Morlocks go ahead and begin the process of actually killing these Reavers. But again, because the Morlocks appear from the sewers, you could say that the Morlocks are citizens of Manipur, and they're just right now protecting the low areas of Manipur. Now, when Kitty Pryde gets back to the boat, you have Iceman and Pyro tell her, hey, listen, the chatter on the news is right now the Morlocks are basically just sewer monsters who popped out of nowhere to help protect the low-life people. Because remember, when it comes to Morlocks, back in the Chris Claremont days, they stay hidden from the world because of their looks. They were afraid to go out there into the world because when their mutation basically manifested, it changed their appearance. And so they look like more like monsters rather than just regular people with powers. And so right now, the chatter on the news is saying like, hey, listen, we're being overrun by a bunch of sewer monsters. Now, here's the big question, though. Where is Bishop? And we come to find out that Bishop went on to pay a visit to one of the members of Varendi. And of course, that member is Maximilian Frankenstein. Now, of course, that name fits him so perfectly because, of course, he made the Reavers. And the Reavers are technically Frankenstein creatures. But either way, you have Bishop kind of say, stop it. Stop turning men into machines. Stop trying to bring a war to us because we're not trying to do anything to you at all. It's you guys who keeps gunning after us and we have no idea why. So you should stop it. Now you do have Maximilian say that with Bishop being inside the building, the cameras are basically recording Bishop breaking the United Nations laws, saying that you're not allowed to invade Manipur. But then you have Bishop say, yeah, you're right. I am technically breaking the law, but your cameras, they're on a 15-minute delay, meaning that those cameras are not going to catch me at all. On top of that, I planted a bomb inside this floor, meaning that you should probably run before you're blown up with this part of the building. And you have Maximilian just dip out of there. Now, the book kind of ends on a high note, but does leave us with a lot of questions. And basically, we see that the Morlocks were able to defeat most of the Reavers, meaning that most of them were killed off. Some of them were not killed off, but either way, it does seem like the Morlocks were able to get rid of the Reavers. Now, with the Morlocks actually being able to do that, they're actually able to live somewhat a normal life in the low part areas of Manipur. And so with that, it's the Morlocks kind of like, okay, we are basically going to make a home here and begin the process of actually helping out Manipur. And this is where we are actually going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. Also, if you have any suggestions on books I should read, well, please let me know in the comments below, because you never know, your suggestion could be a future video down the road. But guys, I'll see y'all next time. Later.